Welcome to part 3 of creating a fantasy type image from your work. So what we've done is we've already put in the new background, added some hair in, smoked the hair out, falling to pieces here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to work more on creating energy flow through the body. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to be using some overlays to create the textures that we want. We're going to go back to our original here. We're going to get our layer of our subject. We're going to go with the healing brush here. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get rid of the strap there. We're going to take care of the hard lines. And this is just so that they do not interfere with our overlays that we're about to put on. Now I'm not going to get rid of everything, and the reason being is maybe it might help out, maybe it might not. We'll decide later. So what we have here is we have a fractal. And if you want to find fractals, I've been collecting these for years. I got hundreds of them in a folder. Just Google fractals. Basically what a fractal is, it's a mathematical equation that's been graphed out and looks kind of like an art piece. So with these, what we're going to do is we're going to start to mold around so it forms the contours of the body. You don't have to use all of the fractal, you can use just a section of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one section here. I'm going to grab this section right in there, so we'll just zoom in a bit. Grab our lasso tool and come in. I don't need to be super precise, just kind of close enough, because we're going to be distorting this, we're going to be blending it into other pieces, so there's going to be a lot of masking involved already. So don't be overly concerned with it to begin with. So we're going to Control C copy, come over here, we're above our subject, Control V paste. And there we go. We're going to Control T, go ahead, scale it roughly, right click. We're going to go ahead and flip it. And we're going to come in here and get it roughly where we want it to be. Go ahead, double click it. Now we're going to choose the blend mode that looks good. Now, one thing I do like about the new Photoshop is as you hover over it, it gives you a preview. Usually one of the overlays is going to look good. Hard light looks pretty good here for what we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead, Control T, right click, warp. And now I'm going to be able to come in and move this around. So that I can shape it the way I want to shape it. Right, so I'm looking for my certain lines here. I might be getting rid of some of these lines, I don't know. That's why I selected more than I need, so we're going to come right in here. When I get it where I like it, pretty close, go ahead and hit enter. We're going to name this one right top, so I know where it's located. We're going to add a mask in, grab my brush, 100%. We're going to go ahead and take out the bulk of what we don't want. Not everything, just the bulk. And that way when we go to add in the other layers, it'll be a little bit easier to see. Now we're going to come over here. Don't want that. Grab my lasso tool again. We're going to grab this section right here. Looks about the right shape for we're going to be doing. Alright, so we're going to grab that right there. Control C, copy. Control V, paste. And move it on over here. Go ahead and rotate it to roughly the position we need it to be. We're going to flip it horizontal. Enter. Select the blend mode that works for us. Hard light works there. Control T. Right click. Warp. And just go ahead and warp to your artistic interpretation of what you want. Hit enter, put on a mask. Go ahead and clean up so that we can start blending these together a little bit better. X that out, put a little bit more back in there. We'll come up a little bit bigger, go with smaller brush using the bracket keys. And there will be going back and forth, blending these a little bit better every time. So you don't have to worry about getting it exactly perfect right away. Alright, we're going to name this one left top. Alright, come back to here. Go ahead and minimize that so we can maybe use it again later if we decide to. I come over to this guy right here. I'm going to use just a section of this, but I'm going to use just past the middle. I'm going to go a little bit past it using the marquee tool. Control C, copy, come over here. Control paste, and I'm going to name this abs. Transform, going to come down here, get it roughly the shape we want. We're going to pick a blend mode. No, don't click on the one you don't want. Soft light looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and Control M, bring up a curve, and I'm going to go ahead and darken this up a bit because I want that richness of tonality on this one. Control T, right click, warp. You can go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'm going to pull these contours exactly where I want them to be. And this can be a little tricky. This is one of the things that when you first start doing this, you're going to take some time. But after a while, you get the hang of the warp tool and it becomes a whole lot faster for you. One thing to remember is as you move something around, it affects everything within the image. So sometimes you gotta do a lot of back and forthing in order to finally tweak it into exactly where you want it to be. good. Enter. Mask it. Oh. Make sure we're on black so that we're painting out, not white. Not painting out. Go ahead and clean this up a bit. Like I said, I'm not going to be perfect cleaning it up. I will go back and fine-tune everything when I blend it all together. So another good reason to be using the mask is so that you can start to see, if we go back to the right top, you can see that we need to take that hard line out a little bit to blend it in a bit more. Ta-da! Now we're going to go ahead and bring that one kind of smaller. We're going to grab one side of this. We're going to add in a little energy. Pure energy. So we're just going to use the marquee tool, grab half of it, Control C, copy. Come back to our art piece, Control V, paste. Now here's where you can get a little bit different on your blend modes. So if you go to dark multiply or darken blend mode, it's going to show us the lighter. Go to screen, it's going to not see the darker. Come to overlay, okay. But down here we have some difference, an exclusion, subtraction. Ooh, subtraction looks kind of cool. What subtraction is doing is it's subtracting it out. Divide, hue, luminosity, but I like that subtraction one. Now when I do that, call this one energy. So with that one selected, I can move it around, but see I got the dark still coming through. So I can come in here, Control M, bring up a curve. And if I bring the dark over and make it actually darker, you see it disappears. I can then come in here, and by moving this curve around, I can add or subtract contrast into there. So then I can Control T, right click, warp, come in here, warp it so it's kind of going up the curve there like it naturally would. Pull that in. Grab that corner, pull the corner out. Pull it in there. That would be a natural curve of the form there. I get where I want to, hit enter. Then I can add a mask into that. Right, so come in here with our mask and our brush tool. We'll go to 100%, we'll clean up the areas we really don't want it to be in. Go to 30%, kind of blend it through. You can see I now have a little bit of overlap, so I'm going to come over to my right top, click on that mask, and we'll blend that through a little bit more. So as you add things in, you're going to be blending through more and more. So that's why don't try and get it perfect the first time, because when you add something on top, it's going to change the relationship. You're going to need to go back in, and you're going to need to change things to get the final look that you want. There's always a give and take. I'll go to X here, we'll add a little bit more in. There. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to equalize these tones out. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put a new layer and we'll call it the equalizer. And we're going to go ahead and set our blend mode to soft light. So I'm going to come in here with my brush. I'm going to take it to 20%. I'm going to select a lighter skin tone. Now I can come in and I can start to paint in underneath in these dark areas and shadows where I'm getting a little bit too dark on the blending mode. And then I can also select a darker shadow and where it's a little bit too bright, paint in, so that I can start to equalize my tones out in order to create a nice fluid transition. Now when I get everything built in, I will go in and I'll get rid of all these hard lines where they're showing through, and I do not like the effect. So a lot of times you'll leave these things in until you get the overlays that you want to, then you'll go in and clean up the base so that you're getting the blending that you want to. There's always the give and take. I can't repeat that enough times, so don't try to overthink what you need to do and get it done beforehand. See how the interaction is going to react, then make your changes. There can be times when you think something might look really bad, you want to go in and fix it, but then when you get in there and you do one of these blending modes, you go, wow, that actually kind of looks cool. So you don't want to change it at that point. Or you might want to alter it to make it look a little bit different, and not as different as it would have looked if you had gone in and removed something completely to begin with. So a little patience. It's easier to go in and fix something that's not looking right than to try to make it look right to begin with and miss something that could have been a really spectacular discovery later. So I'm not going to make you watch me add in more of these textures. It's the same exact technique over and over and over again. So join us after this for the next step in the creation.